Welcome to All Business, No Boundaries, a collection of supply chain stories by DHL Supply Chain, the North American leader in contract logistics. I'm your host, Will Haywood. This is a place for in-depth discussions on the supply chain challenges keeping you up at night. We're breaking beyond the boundaries that are limiting your supply chain. Today's episode is Delivering Value for Toshiba, an inside look at a decade of partnership. Our guests are Steve Tungate, Vice President, Supply Chain Management, Service, and Innovation at Toshiba, and George Kanupka, Vice President, LLP Services, DHL Supply Chain. Let's dive in. All right, welcome to you both. Been looking forward to having this conversation today. We're going to start like we normally do. I'll ask you each to introduce yourself, first and last name, your title, and then the organization that you're part of. Steve, you're our guest, so you will get to go first.
Hello, I'm Steve Tungate. I'm with Toshiba America Business Solutions. We're a U.S.-based operation for Toshiba Business Products Group, which is in our space is print, barcode, thermal, auto ID, digital signage, and I guess the software solutions and services that go along with managing documents in print products in a customer's environment.
Okay, great. George?
Yeah, George Kanupka. I am part of the DHL Supply Chain team. My responsibility is for North America's lead logistics partner solution, which is inclusive of control tower operations, quality, engineering, and innovation.
Okay, that's great. We'll get into that in a second, George. But first, Steve, Toshiba is a fairly large organization, and I think a relatively well-known brand name in the market. But maybe if you could explain sort of what the business is overall, and then what your role is, and which part of it you support.
The division I'm in is the America Business Solutions. We're a B2B manufacturer or distributor of products, which includes print is one key area, what we call auto ID, which is barcode, thermal area. And growing more rapidly is on the software solutions side, the software document workflow and things like that. And then finally, overall, I guess you'd say document and print solutions, which is a services-based versus product-based that we used to be before. And so those are our primary product lines. And then I manage bringing product in, most of it from Southeast Asia, and then the customer support and our dealer support and our network here in the Americas. And so we provide support for all of the North, South America, Central America. So
Okay, great. And how long have you been at Toshiba?
Been here about 18 years. I started out of college, MBA on logistics from Michigan State University, go Green. I worked for IBM 20 years and then moved into various jobs in the industry and ended up back here after actually what it was Toshiba was having supply chain problems, and the CEO at the time at Toshiba contacted me because I knew him from a relationship that we had through working together. And he said, Steve, we need someone to come fix things. And so can you come help us? And so I joined Toshiba back then to try to help fix.
Where's home for you? Where's your home base?
We're in Southern California, Lake Forest, California. And that's where our headquarters are for the Americas. And but we have operations all through the U.S.
Okay, so George, you said you're responsible for LLP Services at DHL Supply Chain. What does LLP mean?
Yeah, great question. LLP stands for Lead Logistics Partner. And so partner is really the key word in that sentence that really reinforces the value that we bring.
In the George Kanupka mind, how do you define LLP?
Yeah, great. In the world of George, LLP really it's a single point of contact for our customers, and Toshiba, as we'll get into, is going to be a really good example of that. But envision it's coming to DHL and saying, let us operate your business across your supply chain. So that encompasses a lot of variables, everything from control tower operations. Let's make sure your goods get to your customer or your distribution site on time, in full, when you want it. But it's much more than that. It's look at how do you drive innovation into our customer supply chains, delivering a roadmap of continuous improvement, leveraging some numerous points of technology we have to support network design, as well as process automation. Right, so it's really delivering on execution, but it's much broader and much more in depth in execution.
And so, Steve, the relationship with DHL started about how long ago? Was that when you were coming into Toshiba, or along the way, or was it before?
Right, it was after I'd started here, probably 15 years ago. Right, so I'd been here 18 years and started about 15 years ago. And actually, at the time, what we were looking for was a transportation management system, and we did what everyone does. We evaluated the industry partners and who they had and how they could support us. And we're an Oracle shop, and what we looked at, we settled on. We thought we wanted to do an Oracle transportation management (TMS), and what we did is at the time, I wasn't as confident that our internal IT team could deliver what we wanted. And so we looked at DHL, and they were running the Oracle TMS as an outsourced model. And we chose to move to DHL to have them outsource it and manage the TMS application for us. And they're integrated with into our system. So I can't tell whether it's my Oracle or DHL's Oracle to run our TMS right now. And I like that. And a couple of reasons why I want to do it. One is DHL are the experts in this, and we're not. Right? That's not our core competency. If it was print, that's all ours. But on this kind of stuff, it's really DHL's. And so I wanted an expert on this to help us run our business very well. And that's where I started with DHL, is with the TMS, and we've been happy customers for the 15 years we've been.
That's good to hear. That is good to hear. So George, maybe expand a little bit on TMSs in the marketplace, and kind of the role that a transportation management system plays in your ability to deliver service. And then maybe last question, why Oracle at DHL?
Yeah, good question, Will. So the TMS, especially within Toshiba's supply chain, plays an instrumental part. There's high degrees of automation, right? Our team, when I say our team, I mean the DHL team as well as Steve's team, looks at the exceptions, right? We have automation driving the decision-making for Steve's transportation network. And our teams are looking at the exceptions or the points of risk and fixing and actioning that accordingly. So there's a very high degree of no-touch rate, and our TMS solution is really the driver for that.
So what would an example of an exception be? And either of you can talk about that.
Sure, I'll go first and let Steve fill in the blanks, right? But there could be, we support job sites, and we just support products that are going to get to an install, or as well as an enterprise customer. And there could be a line down for one of Steve's major customers, and we need to ensure that circumvents potentially the normal process flow and get it to a customer on an expeditious fashion. So that would stop that from the TMS automation and allow our team to jump in and provide a white glove service.
One of the things I like with the whole process is the speed in which we can execute some of the things. For example, if there are changes in the industry in a region or something like that, we can say, we're having real problems with this particular, for example, it's a carrier in this region of the country or something like that. Typically, it's like all of a sudden they'll be changing something within their network. We'll start getting a lot of damage or stuff like that. We can quickly work with our team at DHL and go, hey, we're going to reroute this another way and manage it differently for the time being until we can address some more problems. And so I like the flexibility of being able to manage exceptions that way, as well as the day by day, every day. I know today we're sending stuff through DHL routing. We're getting near the end of a month, which gets very busy for us, and things got to process quickly. And we work very well with the local team to say, all right, we're going to start speeding up our drops and our routings, and we're going to do it every 30 minutes versus every hour, and start to process stuff through. So I like that flexibility, working with the team. and we have the expertise of DHL doing it. So, I mean, our transportation department is a person and a half, and it's basically I've outsourced it primarily to DHL, and so that's very good for me. It's good because I want to get expertise without a lot of the internal costs to run this run our processes that we need to run. So,
and George, on the DHL side, how many people support the Toshiba operations?
Yeah, it's about 3 people. So to that point, we it's paramount that we leverage data integrity and automation to be successful. So we have direct folks, and then we leverage center of excellences as well too, and that would be to both support track and trace, but then more strategically leveraging our engineering team to look at some of the solutions Steve just talked about to say, hey, my network's changing 3 to 6 months out. We need to look at how our pull point solutions and our consolidations should look. We're using our business reviews to get that feedback. We're really fortunate that an executive like Steve, who sits on the board, gives us visibility to what might be ahead. We leverage that and bring that back into our LLP solution. So it's a mix of direct operational SMEs, but then leveraging those center of excellences to provide more or less strategic solutioning for Toshiba.
It's important for me. We in our reviews, one of the questions that I ask of the DHL team is guys, you know what's out there, what's capable, and you know what we do. What can you continue to deliver to us to make one better service, same cost, same service, lower cost, or even better service, lower cost, and constantly looking at what's happening in the marketplace and the capabilities and the tools that DHL has, because you're constantly looking at that stuff. And I just want to take advantage of being a partner with you guys to figure out what you're doing and how it can help us run our business better.
George, you talked about the partnership aspect of LLP, and Steve mentioned a little bit about the management reviews. How does that work? How do you govern the relationship? How does it work, sort of day to day? And then it sounds like you have some milestone meetings throughout the course of the year. Lay that out for us.
Yeah, I would say it's a bottom-up relationship from the standpoint that we're meeting daily and weekly within our core operations teams to look at, metrics as well as potential exceptions in the process. And so that's being rolled up into a weekly performance review. And that's really being led by our core management teams of both Steve and the DHL organization. We have a more formal quarterly review, which is what you'd expect it to be, which is really exciting, is that we'll get together virtually twice a year and in person twice a year to say, let's take a step back from execution because we're addressing that on our weeklies. And let's focus on where we need to go and what's in front of us for Toshiba. And what's exciting about that is we'll start the meeting off with, let's hear from the customer first. And that update, that's not a 2-minute update. We probably spend 15, 20, 30 minutes just talking about what's going on in the organization and how DHL needs to prepare and plan and support that activity within Toshiba.
And it's actually quite good. We tell them what our strategy is. And that way, because we're not sure what kind of tools that DHL have that can help us. And if our strategy changes, maybe our supply chain infrastructure or what we're trying to do has to change a little bit. And so that's really good for us to have that discussion. But George knows me well enough to know that what I really love are my KPIs, right?
Yes.
And that we spend a lot of time in our reviews on the KPIs, what I'm expecting, what we're getting. And every review, we also look at what I call our savings contribution of our relationship, where we're keeping track of, okay, using the tools that we have and we put in place, this is what kind of savings you're getting net after my costs of DHL to help drive my business. And I'm investing all these in DHL and all these tools and TMS and the freight program that we have, the lead freight program. Because it has returned for me. And I want to continue to see that. I'm getting that return. And that's the way our partnership thrives, right? And DHL delivers what we want. And hopefully the business helps DHL, that we give them DHL. So we're both, it's a mutually beneficial arrangement. And so that's important for us. And and I love KPIs. I love looking at trends. I love looking at how we're going, because that's what dictates how well we're doing. So that's important for me.
What are your top 3 or 4 KPIs that you go to first?
Well, obviously we start with service levels, right? How are our service levels and what we're doing. The other one is how are we? What was our freight benchmark, and how are we recovering some of the freight that we've actually spent, right? So there's a couple KPIs. Really, it's, you net it down to there. I think we have like 15 KPIs, but it's service level and return, right? Cost, return, benefit of the arrangement that we have. And those are the 2 things. And we have a number of KPIs around those. And I think they're all important in what we try to do.
In order of magnitude, what's the freight spend that you're responsible for?
Oh, we probably do, I don't know, if you're talking in, out, all that kind of stuff, probably $4 million a month, somewhere around there.
Yeah, okay. So about $50 million a year.
No, that's domestic. Out is probably closer to $1 million a month.
Okay. And George, I know you're in the game of providing cost savings over time. What do you and your team look to deliver? And maybe Steve shouldn't listen to this,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think you're part. So I'll go ahead and ask the question.
Yeah, I smiled earlier when Steve said he loves his KPIs, because I'll take a step back. What I really appreciate about this relationship is there's always going to be times where the customer challenges you, or you got to be better, right? And Steve and his team have done that, and it was, let's get our KPIs to green, right? And now when we hit green, now let's focus on how do we provide incremental savings and cost down. And they've, through the years, fairly challenged us on that, and we've been able to continue to raise the bar. So to your immediate question is Steve and his team challenges to make sure that our program has a consistent return on his investment. So there's 3 key areas where that happens today. One is buying power, right? Steve talked about his freight spend, right? Their freight spend is not one where they necessarily can scale to the level they'd like. So they've come to DHL and they said, let's leverage the $5+ billion of spend that DHL has in North America, so I can get market competitive rates, but still hit those white glove service levels that his customers expect. The second one, and this is one that over the past 5 years, I believe really evolved, and it was through the life cycle of COVID, is engineering. So us looking at our tools to say, Toshiba supply chain's constantly moving, as did many of our customers. Let's use our tools and let's see, is there a way to increase consolidation from a mode shift standpoint? Do we have opportunities to change our optimization cycles to increase our order optimization? And then, also looking at network solutions. Can we look at different pooling scenarios to drive cost out savings? And I think those are areas, and I'll let Steve kind of reinforce or build, those are areas where we've been able to really deliver bottom line value to Toshiba.
Yeah, the pooling has really been helpful. One for there's freight savings in the opportunity, but more importantly for us from that, our damage has gone down considerably with pooling versus some of the other methods that we've used. So that's outstanding. And it's sort of funny that this industry changes a little bit, and George talked about buying power and stuff like that. At one point, we joined in with our laptop group and our monitor group and our nuclear power group, and combined all of our Toshiba spend together. We negotiated as a group, and each entity paid for its own. Well, we no longer have a laptop group. We no longer have a monitor group. They've all sort of been off in joint ventures elsewhere, and our nuclear power stuff was sold off. So I was then swinging on my own. So that's when I went to DHL and said, hey, is there something we can do? Because I don't have the leverage I once had. I don't have the spend that I once had. And that's where George and team started talking about this logistics partnership that we have right now, which is key. And there's also some things that probably go a little under the radar. We try to, and we have half our business is direct, which is a Toshiba sales rep selling to the end user, end customer, whoever that may be. The other half of our business goes through the channel to a dealer partner that we have, and so we go through a dealer partner. that we have. So we have these two kinds of business that we're running here, and it makes it we have to be very flexible. And what we found out with our direct businesses, we want to just ship to them a couple times a week our products because it's less costly to ship more in fewer shipments. And we had difficulty because our system wasn't allowing us to consolidate stuff. So we went to DHL and said, hey, can you help us by when these orders come in, just hold them for a day and then ship them the next day or 2 days. And so that allows us to optimize our freight spend with our direct entities because they have capacity problems too. And so that's the kind of partnership that I think we have. We wouldn't have been able to do that internally because we don't have the bodies to do it, but using DHL and the systems and the people we have there supporting us has allowed us to do it. And we did it in the matter of about a week and a half. And so that kind of support. And we just did that a month ago, and it's been very helpful for us. And that's the kind of flexibility, support, partnership that I like because we call up DHL and say, we got a problem. This is not your fault. It's my fault. I can't get it to you the right way. Can you help me? And they did. And so that's what I appreciate.
So George, Steve just mentioned one of the tools, and the term is pooling, which I know is an industry one. So for the layman, what does pooling do overall, and just describe it, please?
Yeah. So what we did and we were looking to do is let's consolidate capacity into a region of the country and ship that on a full truckload to that region, and then once you get to that region, disperse the product to the end customer. And that works out well when you have a customer with lower density or higher LTL shipments and less full truckload shipments. It allows you to leverage better buying capacity.
See, if we take 3 or 4 LTL shipments, make them a truckload rate, it's cheaper, and do a drop off here, drop off there, drop off there. So it's less handling, less damage for us, which is critically important for us.
And George, how are you able to spot opportunities to do things like that?
Yeah, well, I think two ways. One, we do use our My Supply Chain suite of services. So Steve's team and our team has access to the business analytics platform where you're able to really use that data and query and run various control reports and analytics to project where there's opportunities. Second is we took ship history and we used some of our modeling tools that DHL has in-house and said, hey, based off these conditions, with some minor behavior changes, Toshiba, I think we can drive certain various points of savings to you. It's having the reach and engagement to the senior leadership like Steve can allow for change management across logistics and customer operations in a much more streamlined fashion.
Gotcha. And the systems architecture. So My Supply Chain, how does that relate to Oracle Transportation Management?
Yeah, and thanks for asking that follow-up. I'm used to talking about it like it's
I know.
normal nomenclature, right? But our TMS are really our engine that drives the transportation decision makings. We have a layer on top of that of our TMS as well as our WMS that looks at both customer and internal reportings for an end user to say, let me take all those fancy algorithms and decisions and put it in a user-friendly dashboard. And that's what our My Supply Chain will do for analytics and KPIs. But it's also where they'll house our documents and your track and trace functionality to see where your shipment is in the life cycle of the order.
And Steve, do you use My Supply Chain as well?
Well, personally, no. My team does. Right? So I don't think I could log in, but my team does every day and looks at all the stuff, and they'll tell me if there's a problem and there's something I need to look at. So.
Yeah, I can relate. I've got similar things on my end. So, I mean, thinking back to you started out of Michigan State with an MBA in supply chain, which I think was probably pretty early to get that degree offering. What you look after today, sort of operationally, what did it look like in the days that you were just getting started?
Oh yeah, no, we went to automobiles, right? So the supply chain is so different now than when I first started. I mean, it's whatever I learned in school back then is no longer relevant. and you can see the industry change so much, right? Especially, it's a global infrastructure now that we have in the development of the internal market, the domestic transportation market, and the capabilities is far different than it ever was in the past, and the requirements are different. I mean, look at this from a commerce perspective. I needed a bulb for my range hood yesterday. I put it in the morning, and I was going to get the bulb in the evening. Right? You think about what it takes to do that. So everything is different now than what years ago, and so it's. But the basics of business always rule. Good service at the best possible cost, and so. And as the technology and the industry changes to deliver that, then you continue to address that. So the overarching theme remains the same, but everything underneath it is quite a bit different. And so, but think of it. I've been doing this for 35 years or so, and that's sort of been the fun part of working in supply chain. Is it changes so rapidly? The requirements change so much. And the technology that helps you get there changes so much. You couldn't even conceive of tomorrow we can negotiate to have a new carrier in a new area. We can load it into our TMS, and then next week we're shipping in different routes, different carriers, different price factors. I mean, it's just so much different than it was. You couldn't even imagine some of that stuff years and years ago. So quite a bit different, and we want to be on the edge of the technology, and that's sort of one of the reasons that we partner with DHL. We believe at Toshiba we're on the edge of technology. We're working on, and we're going from a market that's print, that's sort of stable and flat, to really markets a software and document workflow. So no longer do you have to print stuff. Now you have to move documents back and forth and read it when it comes in, and process it out electronically, and that's all part of what we're doing is part of our business. And auto ID and the thermal stuff to help manage the infrastructure is so much different than it was years ago. So we've had to change as a company, and as we change as a company, and our requirements change around distribution and transportation and supply chain and order management, or have to order different. It's just good to have a partner like DHL to help us do that. And I think we're the best at moving to the future in our industry. That's why we're growing in share, because we're very good at it. And we can only do that if we have a good partner to do it with us. And so that's why DHL is very, very important to us. The relationship is very important.
Oh, well, thanks for that. So George, how does your team keep up to speed on all of the tools that are coming into market? How do you evaluate those, and how do you decide this is something that I want to talk to Steven Toshiba about versus something else which may not be fit for purpose?
It gets back to that concept of center of excellences, right? We do leverage SMEs in various pockets. So when we look at opportunities to how do we optimize the supply chain, we're going to reach out to our engineering team and our solutions design team internally that have some of those in-house tools to help solution a problem. On more of the market and the freight area, we have a team that looks at everything from ocean, air, truckload, LTL, intermodal, barge, right? They know everything from where we believe the market's going to be 3 years from now to blips in the spot markets throughout points in the country. Right? So we're gonna leverage those resources, and the exciting thing about that is they're right down the hall from our team in the control tower. So they can just get up, they can get over a conversation, and quickly get back to our customer with potential risk point or a solution. And the governance is really, we have those dailies and the weeklies with Steve's direct operations team. So the cadence is there to share that information and to receive that feedback from Toshiba.
That's been really interesting to hear how you guys have worked together over time. It has been a fun time to be in the supply chain industry, and feels like it continues to accelerate. So more challenges ahead for us, or opportunities, better said. I'd like to thank you both for joining today and talking about your businesses and all of the interesting things that go into your day-to-day work.
Thank you, Will. Thank you. Thanks, George, too.
Same to you, Steve. Thank you, Will.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to rate us and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also re-listen to our entire library of episodes on our website, dhl.com/ABNB podcast. See you next time.